So far in our study of logic, we've really been focusing on simple statements. These are ones that contain just or convey just a single idea, okay? However, now we're going to start combining these simple statements into what we call compound statements. We can combine really two or more ideas into the same statement using connective words. Okay, there are four types of connective words that we're really going to get into. The word and, where you combine two or more things using the word and, the word or, the phrase if then, if something happens, then something happens, okay? And if and only if, which is kind of going both ways. It's an if then in both directions, okay? If and only if is sometimes symbolized with the word if with a double F, kind of. It's the two F's, or the two ifs. You'll see that sometimes, not really in our textbook, but sometimes that will be a notation that can be used. Symbolically, just like we had symbols for element of and subset and negation, we have symbols for these four connectives. The symbol for an and kind of looks like a capital A without the horizontal line in there. It's like a caret or an arrow pointing up. The symbol for or is a similar arrow pointing down. If then is a one-way arrow pointing to the right, and if and only if is a two-way arrow pointing in both directions, okay, left and right. Now, we call any compound statement that uses the word and is called a conjunction. Any compound statement using the word or is called a disjunction. Any if-then statement is called a conditional statement, and if and only if statements are called biconditional statements. Okay, so just to give you a summary of the different phrases and symbols and ideas that we're going to be talking about. Okay, so just to give you a quick example of each of these, a conjunction is a statement that combines two ideas where they both must occur in order for the statement to be true. Okay, so I don't know, an example of a conjunction might be it rained outside and it is windy outside, or it rained and it was windy, okay, something like that. So that's an example of a conjunction. It rained and it was windy. Okay, so again, the word and right there is our conjunction. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is our conjunction. It's also the connective word. It represents a conjunction. So the whole statement is a conjunction because it contains the word and, which is a connective. I think I said that wrong. Okay. And you could really break this down into two simple statements that convey one idea each, right? So you could have P being the statement it rained. If that's either true or it's false. So it's a statement. And Q could be it was windy. Right? That again is either true or false, so it is a statement. And then when you combine them, we would say P and Q using that arrow or caret pointing upward. Again, it looks kind of like an A for and, right? Without the line in there. So we'd say P and Q. This would be the symbolic way to represent that conjunction, right? If you think about, and in order for this entire statement to be true, let me go back to that, both of these must exist. Both of them must occur, I should say, all right? So both, very important, P and Q are true, or both P and Q must be true in order for the statement to be true. Okay, so with a conjunction, both simple statements must be true in order for the compound statement to be true. Okay, both of them. All right, so if it was true that it rained outside and it was true that it was windy, then the compound statement would be true. However, if one of them was false, or if both of them were false, then the and statement would also be false. Okay, it only takes one to be false for the whole thing to be false. Okay, so that's the idea of a conjunction. Now let's look at disjunctions for a moment. Disjunctions, a little bit weird. The word or has a little bit of ambiguity to it, meaning it could mean a couple different things. So let me explain what the word or really means here. The word or in our common language could mean two things. It could mean that that one or the other is true, but not both, or it could mean that one or the other is true, or both is true. Okay, either way. And so when we conventionally use the word or, there's a little bit of ambiguity to it, and we often use the context of the statement to clarify that ambiguity, okay? To clarify whether we mean one or the other or both, or whether we just mean one or the other but not both, okay? In our discussion in mathematics, we typically allow for both to occur when we discuss disjunctions, okay? So we're going to say that the statement P or Q, using that symbol, means that one or the other or both, okay? Means one or the other or both. Okay. So again, we're going to clarify that the both can exist, okay, or can be part of this. So what that means then is, let's say I use the P and Q example here, it rained or it was windy, let's say that. So it rained or it was windy. So that is a single statement now, okay? We've combined them into a compound statement. And all we really need is one or the other or both to be true in order for the compound statement to be true. So you could have a true P and a false Q, for instance. It could be rainy but not windy. But then this would still be true. It rained or it was windy, okay? That would still be true. The full statement, the compound statement, is true when one or both of the parts are true, okay? Okay, so that's the idea of just disjunction. We do want to allow for both here. Conditional statement. Okay, let's look at some other examples. Actually, yeah, a conditional statement. What could be another example? Let's do something like P, Q. P is I flew on a plane, and Q is I wore a mask, right? Kind of interesting one. So a conditional statement, right? This is conditional. Sorry, things didn't quite line up the way I wanted them to as I wrote this out, but conditionals there. It's in the right order, right? So a conditional would say if P, then Q. All right, so the statement might say if I flew on a plane, then I wore a mask. Okay. Symbolically, we would write it this way: P arrow Q. We also use the term implies. So we could say P implies Q. That's another way to write this. So if I flew on a plane, then I wore a mask. Okay? Well, that seems to be a true statement there. And so, at least currently. And so that is true, but the opposite is not necessarily true. Okay? For a conditional statement, if I were to reverse that and say, if I wore a mask, then I was on a plane, that isn't necessarily true, because you could wear a mask anywhere, right? I mean, I have a mask right here. I could put a mask on. I'm not on a plane, right? So that's definitely not. It doesn't go both ways. So a conditional statement only really has to go one way. A biconditional statement has to go both ways. So this is conditional, not biconditional. A biconditional statement, what's a good example of a biconditional? Biconditionals are often used for things like definitions, or things that are equivalent to each other. Something like the definition idea may be something like, let's have P be, he is a bachelor, and Q is, he is an unmarried male. This is a very common example that's used. And so for a biconditional, you would say, symbolically, the P double arrow Q, and sometimes we write it out P double if or IFF Q. And then if I were to write the full thing, it would say, he is a bachelor if and only if he is an unmarried male. Okay? Now, you can think of this in two different ways, two different conditional statements. One of them would be, he is a bachelor, or no, sorry, let's start that over. If he is a bachelor, then he is an unmarried, male. And you would also have to have true if he is an unmarried male, then he is a bachelor. Okay, so for a conditional, just for a regular conditional statement, you only need one of them to be true. For a biconditional statement, both of them must be true in order for the biconditional to be true. Okay, the if and only if, the really means both directions. One of them means one direction, the other means the other direction. Okay, so, or the other order you could think of it in. So you could see this, another way to write this maybe is to say P implies Q and Q implies P, right? So you could almost think of it in terms of both have to be true in order to be a biconditional statement. Okay, so we'll go through a few more examples in the following videos and maybe get into some negations of these and how to combine these even further.